On the 28th of April 2014, the then brand new AM class electric multiple units ran in passenger service for the first time, with the Onehunga branch being the first line to see them. These units, built by CAF of Spain, were a game changer for Auckland and its suburban rail network. Before the EMUs came along, the network wasn't electrified, and services will run with second-hand/repurposed diesel locomotives and multiple units. The ADL and ADK class DMUs came from Perth, Western Australia, while the SA coaches and SD cab cars were rebuilt from former British Rail Mark II coaches, and later hauled by DC or DFT/DFB locomotives. There were also some ex-Queensland Rail SX coaches, which were typically hauled by a pair of refurbished DBR locomotives running in a top-and-a-tail formation. Following the retirement of the ADLs in August 2022, all suburban services in Auckland are now run by AMs. The original batch, consisting of 57 units, was built between 2013 and 2015, and this was followed by a second batch, consisting of 15 units, arriving in 2019 and 2020. There are now 72 AMs in existence, and they're significant for a whole host of reasons. The main one being the fact that they're essentially the first rolling stock built specifically for Auckland suburban services. As for the ADLs, they are currently stored on the Glenbrook Vintage Railway and facing an uncertain future. As for the other diesel locomotives, multiple units, and unpowered coaches that were in use before the AMs arrived, they've all led very different lives after being withdrawn. For example, DC 4444 was sold to Martinus Rail and exported over to Australia in 2020. And at least one of the DCs that received the Max Blue livery, namely 4951, is still in service with Kiwi Rail, albeit on freight trains in the South Island. Meanwhile, DBR 1199, one of 3 DBRs to receive the Max Blue livery, is now owned by DBM Contracting and preserved at the Goldfields Railway in Waihi. As for the 4 DFs that once ran in Auckland suburban service, all of them are still in service as of late April 2024, after being repainted in Kiwi Rail colours. DFB 7010 and DFT 7104 are now running in the South Island, while DFBs 7200 and 7348 are still in the North Island, and normally used on the passenger service from Wellington to Masterton. These days, the AMs run all of Auckland's suburban services, not counting Te Huia as that train is not under the Auckland Transport banner. The units run on 4 routes, namely the Western, Eastern, Southern and Onehunga lines. Western and Southern line services run on the same tracks between Britomart and Newmarket, where Western line trains have to change direction before heading out to Swanson, a station that lies around 28 kilometres from Britomart. The track actually continues all the way to Whangarei, but the line is only electrified as far as Swanson. As for the Southern line, this runs for 33.1 kilometres from Britomart to Papakura. The latter is the current southern terminus, while the section to Pukekohe is being electrified. The last diesel service on the Auckland suburban network was the Papakura to Pukekohe shuttle. That's why the ADLs remained in service for another 7 years after the SA and SD coaches were replaced. As for the ADKs, they were retired much earlier than the ADLs, with a farewell excursion in November 2014. Most of those units have since been exported to Mozambique, of all places. Services on all but one of these suburban lines run to Britomart, which is an underground station in the city centre that opened in 2003, and it makes use of the former Chief Post Office building. Trains typically run every 20 minutes off-peak and at weekends, with the Western, Eastern and Southern Line services being increased to 10-minute headways at peak times. As for the Onehunga services, they only go as far north as Newmarket at the time of uploading, and can't run any more frequently than every 30 minutes due to the limited capacity of the single-track Onehunga branch, which leaves the Southern Line at Penrose and runs for 3.32 kilometres to the terminus, with one intermediate station at Te Papapa. The overall length of the track between Newmarket and Onehunga is only 8.68 kilometres. For various reasons, I was unable to go up to Auckland on the exact 10-year anniversary of the AM's entry into service. So instead of a simple montage of the units running on the Onehunga branch, I had the idea to run a compilation with one piece of footage from almost every year in which the AMs have been in service. I didn't actually get any footage of the AMs in 2017 and 2018, but I did get a few still images, so I've used those instead. As for the passenger experience on board of these units, it's middle of the road, in my opinion. The ride quality is very smooth, although that could just be down to the condition of the track and not so much the unit suspension, or a combination of both. In any case, I still like the overall ambience where the interior is concerned. But the one thing I can't really stand on these units is the seat comfort, or lack thereof. The seats don't have that much padding, and the backrest is set in an uncomfortable angle, although it's not as bad as W2 class number 244 in Christchurch. And speaking of which, the seats on the AMs are not like old-fashioned trams, where oftentimes they have seat backs that can be flipped to face either direction. Of course, the AMs do not have toilets on board due to the average journey time being too short to warrant the installation of toilets. The longest amount of time you'll spend aboard an AM is around 56 minutes, and that's the duration of a full journey from Britomart to Swanson. In any case, I still like seeing the AMs in operation whenever I'm in Auckland, since electric locomotives and multiple units are a rare thing here in New Zealand. KiwiRail's EFs only run between Palmerston North and Hamilton, while some vintage electrics are preserved at the Ferrymead Railway in Christchurch, although not all of them are in operational condition. Thinking back to the AMs, here's hoping that they remain in operation for many more years to come.